Hey, everybody, this is the Drop the Beat podcast. My name is Charles Laurita.
And my name is Will Sarver.
And we want to thank you guys so much, as you do every week, for listening to us beat off. I think we're having a lot of fun. Will, I believe, if my memory serves me correctly, this is our 10th episode.
It is number 10. I had to think about it.
I have it literally on a dry erase board next to my desk, so I knew I wasn't wrong because I was going to feel like an idiot if I was completely wrong. But this is our 10th episode. I on behalf of our little duo would just love to thank everyone for constantly beating off with us every single week. I think we're doing pretty well with this guy. I think we're having fun. We're getting great questions. We're loving having questions written in.
Love it.
Love it so much. But enough about that. For you people listening at home, you can't see it. But Will, who is my partner on this wonderful show, he got these fucking fly-ass blue light glasses. And he looks so suave, and he pulls these off so wonderfully. And I look unshaven, hair pulled back with a beanie on. I look like the Unabomber over here, and it's just like I feel this just isn't a fair trade, you know.
This feels like we're plugging an ad for these glasses.
We are.
I don't even know the name.
No.
Yeah, but get them today. Get yours today.
Yeah, get your off. That would be awful if you because they're clear, completely clear frames and clear everything. It's like, imagine dropping those and just like being completely screwed. Like you just hear a crunch and it's like they're gone.
Yeah, they're gone forever. Don't drop them in water either. You'll never find them.
Oh my God, they'll be gone. They'll just be gone. You might not even be wearing them right now. You might be lying to me. I haven't really seen them.
That's true. It's just a reflection.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to be real with you. I haven't even seen them on your face. I think you're lying. But how have you, now we're in the Xth week of quarantine. I don't even know what week it is.
Oh yeah, who knows?
How have you been holding up over there? What you been doing? What you got going on?
You know what? We were just talking about this earlier, and it's starting to do a little bit more recording and whipping out the cameras. A little bit of film. I really miss it. And now we have all the time in the world these days. But it's actually been kind of nice. I've been playing a ton.
So have I.
It's really nice, like just going out throughout the day, just like whenever, just sitting down and playing for an hour. Go do something else, come back, do it again.
Oh, that's perfect. I mean, we need that kind of a thing for the artsy fartsy types to kind of keep going. I think we need that kind of solace,
Yeah. How are you?
I'm all right, I suppose. I've been getting all antsy and itchy to start doing video stuff and recording stuff again too. So I think we'll be doing something like that within the week. At least I'd like to. Just I miss everybody. I was as we were saying earlier off record. It's like, man, if we were stuck together, we happened to be quarantined, we'd have a billion things recorded and filmed by now. Like it would it'd be
dangerous setup. Yep.
Oh my God, it would be perfect. It's like one of those horrible kind of ultimatums you read about online where it's like, you're stuck in quarantine for X amount of weeks, but you can't record anything. And it's like, that's the ultimatum. Like,
right.
We're stuck. But Will, we actually have a question someone wrote in this week. As much as I'd like to talk about just me missing you and your suave ass glasses, someone did write in with a topic.
Oh, well, let's hear it. Let's hear what they got to say.
Well, before we get that, here's a little commercial advertisement for our show. If you would like to write in a topic for us to answer on the show in a long kind of format thing, go to www.charleslaurita.com/contact, and you can write in a little form box your name, where you're from, and your question, because we're loving getting so many of these questions just from other kind of places around the country and hopefully soon internationally. We didn't have any international.
I can't wait. No, not yet. I'm waiting.
But I think this might be one of the farther ones that we've had, which is great. But I digress for the time being. If we do pick your question that you write in, we will send you a free Charles Laurita and the Mischief shirt. It's going to be great. So now you don't have to be naked out in public, indecently exposing yourself among the masses. So it'll be pretty good. But the question today is from Melanie. She writes in from Houston, Texas.
Ooh, Texas.
That would be the Lone Star State.
I just heard everything's bigger in Texas.
That's what they tell me. Boy, howdy, do I need to get there ASAP because I'm having some personal problems. Anyway, Melanie writes
cold
in.
Basement.
It's so cold here, in the 96-degree heat outside.
He had the heat wave.
So Melanie writes in and she says, due to the pandemic, I've been stuck in quarantine for so long without seeing my bandmates. Oh man, girl, preach. I'm looking to get in. I'm looking to get into the art of home recording and saw that you guys have your own home studio. That is accurate. Do you have any tips for someone like me who wants to get into recording at home? Because I
like that.
I was gonna say I'm sitting in the band's little home studio at the moment, the Rat Cave right now, which everyone sees. Anything from the band's Instagram page, which you should follow the band Charles, Laurita, and the Mischief on Instagram. You should, or else anything. It's always the location is the Rat Cave, and that's where we are right now. And this was a home studio, which was an amalgamation of a couple little studio things you and I have done, which we had to make out of, desperation.
Necessity.
That's a good one. I like that better.
Yeah.
It sounds more positive. We won't get too much into that, but I guess we should start at square one with that kind of thing.
Yeah, you never know who's listening, right?
That's true, funny guy. No one ever knows who's listening.
Exactly, yeah.
Oh, man. Boy. Anyway, so Melanie sounds like she's starting from square one, which is great. So we can kind of run through this thing. It's like, what do you do? Now, granted, a lot of people do home recording stuff. People will just have a laptop and that's it. And, you can be simple and you can do whatever. And that's obviously one way to do it. And obviously the way that we're going to talk about aren't going to be gospel, but... there's always going to be different ways to do anything that we talk about on the show, except how Will wears his glasses because he wears them fine as hell, and no one else can do that. But
yeah, that's right.
So she's starting from square one. So when we started our little home studio originally, which I don't know if we even had a name for it. What we called it, I guess it was the Mischief Sound Lab or whichever we kind of said
Sound Lab or something.
But yes, that was out of incredible necessity at the time, and everything about that was a learning experience. We went from, when I say we, it's kind of the royal we, it was the band. We went from recording in a studio for an album, our Interstellar Fortune Teller album that we were working on, and we basically ran out of money, so we had to leave the studio, and we had to basically make our own home studio to finish this record, which was scary because, it's such a gamble. You don't know what's going to happen. And I know, you did a ton of research on the whole studio idea and everything like that and just how to get into it, where we were kind of pulling our hair out. But, I mean, reflecting back on that, how did you feel about having to literally just jump in the deepest deep end you could have?
Sometimes I think that's the way to do it. We really didn't have an option. We didn't have an option. No. And I know you've had some experience and knowledge in recording, and I dabbled in it. So, I mean, we didn't come from nothing, but as far as like gear and stuff went, that was a whole nother ball game. But
yeah, just the researching with everything of what does what, and we had no idea. A lot of that stuff. Yeah. I mean, I was always the editing guy, and I was always the actual recording guy. I was never the hardware guy. I'm not a gearhead by any means, so that was like so new for me. And like all that stuff. That's I was like, I don't know.
And it's extremely overwhelming. Not only in your selection, but it's like everybody and their brother makes the same thing. So it's like, well, what do you go with? And with I think I'll with a lot of it and gear and things like that, it's people like to put a price on it, and they're gonna tell you that you need unlimited funds to make something like this happen. And I think you and I are living proof that that's not the case, because we didn't have money.
Agree.
We didn't have money, and we bought a lot of the stuff used. Shout out to eBay. eBay.
Hell yeah, eBay. My boy.
And pieced it together, and we were able to come out with some really great recordings. I think they're still some of my favorite. Yeah, personally, one of my favorite ones that we've done was the Pokemon video. That was the first ever track we recorded in this new
Maiden
studio,
Voyage,
and
baby.
It's still my favorite one. I don't know why, but it just sounded so good. But I mean,
because I think you and I, how we did a lot of our recording and mixing, we really kind of captured a very warm analog kind of sound. And I think we had always gone for that, even though we're not on tape. I think that's really what we were going for. I mean, that was the biggest cherry to ever pop, where it's just like you dive in and it's like, here it is, balls and all. And that's literally what it was.
Right. Figure it out.
Yeah. I mean, you obviously made a great point, and we talk about this all the time, where it's the money doesn't make the recordings. You buying a $3,000 microphone is not going to make you record well. It's going to put a nice dip in your wallet, but it's not necessarily going to give you a good recording. And that was, I think, one of the biggest things when we started. We're looking at all these studios getting ideas, and people having $3,000, $4,000 just crazy mics, and we don't have that kind of a budget. My car didn't even cost that much. I mean, so it's like we put that piece. It was a piecemeal studio on like a soup kitchen budget. That's what we had to do. We had to, and that's always my favorite thing, and it's that kind of Walt Disney mentality that I always try to keep in my back pocket, where it's like, there's always a way to do this, and it doesn't have to be expensive. There's always a way. You never throw an idea out. There's always a way to make it work or make it happen, and you don't need money to do it. Always a way. So I remember you and I researching microphones, and we were coming across, a lot of people talking about and dissecting them and kind of doing compare and contrast stuff like they do on YouTube all the time. And you and I kind of came to the idea where it's like, well, a microphone is just a clean signal. That's all you literally need is a clean signal. That's it. Yeah. It doesn't have to be $1 billion, because you're putting everything on it in post. So, I mean, I had that I brought, and I had two of my old, mics. I had the Pepsi can mic that we still talk about, or I had the USB mic. They were more expensive. One. The Tascam mic, yeah. That Pepsi can mic was just a random eBay purchase. That was a $20 mic. And that's in the Pokemon gym. Josh Lee, the Barry sax player on that track, did his solo into that mic. I think everybody soloed into that mic. And it was awesome. And that was a cheap ass mic. The mics that we used on the kit, and I still use on the kit in the Rat Cave. They were $10.
I see them. Yeah.
Yeah. $10 micro. Oh, you see them in the background on my screen.
Yeah, I see them in the background.
They were $10 microphones. They're a clone of the SM57. I mean, the thing people need to realize is microphone technology like that has been around for literally 70, 80 years at this point. It's been around a long damn time.
Yep.
So for someone to make it and replicate it, it's just going to get cheaper over time, and it's a clean signal. That is all you need. So I would say number one big thing with starting is don't worry about the cost, because really you're putting stuff on top, you're putting your reverbs and your EQ and all that stuff. You just have to have a good, clean signal. A $4,000 mic is not going to do anything, because a lot of people, when they do studio stuff, they think they have to get the top-notch stuff to make good recordings, and that is not necessarily true. I mean, the thing I always say, I relate to art because it's always art, and it's, you don't have to be a good artist and have a giant palette of paints. If I gave you, a box of 4 crayons that they give you while you're waiting for your table at Applebee's, you should be able to make me a nice picture. It's just all how you use it. Thank you, because I still, to this day, whenever I go to like Chili's or Applebee's, I always take a box of crayons and I draw on the menu because I'm 5.
Well, you have to, and then you get the chicken finger platter.
That was like, oh, dude, the best was Chili's had the 4-pack of crayons, and they had the colors they had. It was just red, green, blue, and yellow, but they all had cool names. So it was like blue was cerulean, yellow was mac and cheese, green was, I think it was just forest green or evergreen or something cool. I don't remember what red was. If anyone knows what red is, we'll send you a free CD if you can tell me what the Chili's Crown Red was, because I really want to know that. So leave a comment down below. Chili's. I just want to know. I forget. I have it probably in a box, and I don't remember. It was something cool. Anyway, not important. But those, that was such a huge deal for us. It was getting something where it's like we don't have to break the bank. We bought a set of drum mics, or a set of mics for the drums, and it was like, what, $40? Like, it was nothing. $50 we spent or whatever.
Yeah, it was really, really reasonable, and it's, you just gotta work with what you got. If you can only afford so much, then that's totally fine. It's gonna work. Trust me.
I mean, even the vocal mics we use, I use MXL stuff. I am in love with MXL mics. I just bought that purple one that I have, and the mic was a $45 microphone. And it's like, it's fabulous. It's such a damn good mic. And it just, I don't know, it's just a testament to the ingenuity of just studio knowledge, where it's, you don't have to have good stuff. You know, some people will be like, oh, you got to get the official, you know, whatever mixing desk. And it's like, you don't.
Right.
You really don't. My desk is literally right now in the rat cave, and it was a desk of my own design. It's two small $14 desks from Walmart. They're like these little just straight desks, and then I put a big slab of wood across it and covered it. That's what my desk is.
Mainstay.
Yeah, it's that mainstay, baby, and it's what I needed, though. It's what it worked for me. I didn't want to get, you know, the crazy whatever stuff, thinking I've spent $18 billion for just whatever. I mean, for God's sake, you remember our soundproofing panels in the original studio at your house?
That got crafty.
That was awesome.
What was that? Yeah. Was that like cardboard backing?
Yeah, I had gotten from the Dollar Tree, which is our local East Coast dollar store for anyone listening, unless it's out there too. But it was just the foam boards. It was just the regular foam boards.
Yeah.
Bought a bunch of them. We cut them into 2x2 squares. My girlfriend works for Apple, and they throw out every day there a lot of the egg crate foam, which is usually expensive to get, and she asked me if I wanted it, and her boss okayed it, and she brought me tons of it home. And I remember just us in your like garage doing the spray adhesive and putting on and making these big panels. We made like 10. We made a whole lot of them, putting them all over the room just to kind of have some stuff to bounce off of, which I believe that day was very infamous because that was the horseradish day, which will forever live on in infamy in my life. So just a quick little nice anecdotal story here. There is the sax player named Candy Dolfer. She's fabulous. She's very easy on the eyes. She has a keyboard player who also is her hype man, and he very, very loudly exclaims, "Put some hot sauce on it." When they're kicking up the heat a little bit, William.
That's my favorite.
Which we have said time and time again. That comes back to reference in this story. So we're making these soundproofing panels in his garage, and we get hungry, so we go to Wawa for lunch, and Wawa is the very East Coast convenience store. It's so much better than any of your other convenience stores. It's not as good as Sheetz. Sheetz sucks. It's not as good as Cumberland Farms. That's not great either.
What about Royal Farms?
Oh, it's okay.
Their fried chicken's not bad.
No, it's not bad. It's not. Sheetz, they just mess my order up.
I mean,
every time.
you're dancing with the devil here with all these convenience stores.
Dude, I'm just saying, and it's like, or like any of those, or like 7-Eleven or one of those. Wawa is the absolute best.
Yes, it is.
It is, seriously. Like, I've gone to so many of the convenience stores in other states, and they just do not hold up. Wawa is a religious experience. You can come and fight me. I will put my address in the description of this video. Anyway, so we went to the Wawa, and on this, I got really violent. I'm sorry. Very patriotic, man. You know?
I mean, as a former employee, I have to agree with you. It is fantastic. Yeah. Great place to work for, by the way.
There you go. And a Wawa is a slang term for a Canadian goose, if anyone was wondering. So those bastards.
Yeah, it's even more confusing.
Yeah, so those bastards that stand in the the parking lot of the movie theater and shit everywhere with their babies, that's the mascot of this wonderful wonderful convenience store chain. But they have a touch screen, and you can pick food off of it and anything. Kind of like Quick Check, but not dumb. So I'm just out for all of these convenience chains at the moment.
Wawa paid us a small fortune for this ad.
I was gonna say.
Anyway, continue.
Dude, Wawa's a Philly thing. You got to go with it at this point.
Yeah.
So they had touch screens, and they had mac and cheese, and their mac and cheese were really good. But they debuted on this day. It was called mac and cheese flavors, and you could go and they would put like garlic sauce in it, or chipotle, or buffalo, or horseradish. And we're looking at these, and we're like, "Oh, that sounds awesome." And I said to Will, "I'm like, which one do I get?" And he was like, "Dude, go with the horseradish." I'm like, "That's a great idea." So I got a medium, which is pretty damn big for Wawa mac and cheese. It's big. And normally what they're supposed to do is like mix the sauce in, but this guy really threw off his horseradish to noodle ratio, and he just like this horse, like that's what it would sound like, 'cause it's like it's not a viscous material, like it's very like, you know, it's a heavy sauce. He put so much on my mac and cheese. We get to your house and I take the lid off, and it just was like the episode of SpongeBob where he has the bad breath and you just like see it in the person's face. Like that's what happened with this horseradish. I remember I took that lid off and I was like, holy shit. And you're like,
your eyes were
bad.
watering.
Yeah. And you're like, how bad could it be? And I held up to your face and you like gagged, and I'm like trying to eat this and I physically could not eat the damn thing. It was just ridiculous. I ate like half of it, and then I got it after that. And once they finally learned how to mix it in, not give me the entire ration that the store has, it was great. But from that day, when we were playing live, we wouldn't say put some hot sauce on it. We'd say put some horseradish on it, which I think is not as good as the hot sauce. But I just felt like everyone.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. I mean, it's spicy. But it's also stanky. But it's like horseradish stuff is great, you know. So if you're still there and I would say, so if you're still there and you haven't X'd out of this video or podcast yet, thank you for listening to that story, reminiscing. So what we got is you don't have to get expensive microphones. You got to go to Wawa and get horseradish mac and cheese. That's the 2 steps we have so far, I think.
And that's it. We'll take care, everybody, and we'll see you
Yeah,
next
have
week.
a good evening, guys. Thanks. But yeah, so we were literally making soundproofing panels out of nothing. We had free foam and $1 foam boards. And, we got like, 1.5 out of every one of those foam boards we bought. I mean, it was such a budget economy studio, but we had to. That's all we had. And we were on a timeline too. Like we had a deadline. Like we had to get this done. Like we already spent way more than necessary time originally. So now when we were handed the project to finish working on, it's like we really had to boogie, but it was, I think, not just the soundproofing panels, but the layout of the room was very, very important. And that was the thing too. It wasn't a big room, but we still made it work great. And you can see that in some of our original videos. You can see that original room on some of the early Mischief Studio series videos that we had done, where it was a lot of the video game music we did, where it was like the Pokemon Gym and this Lost Woods song, like that one. They were a blast. Like I loved that little room. Like that room was awesome.
Yeah,
we made it. We made it. We made it work. You don't have to have a big giant space to make good recordings. I mean, yeah, we were a little cramped, but I think we did a damn good job in that room. What we were dealt with. Yeah. I mean, that was great. That was your suggestion to start doing it in there, and that saved us. Like that literally saved us, and that's what got us where we are today with recording and things like that. Because now I look at the videos we're doing and recordings in the Rat Cave, and I'm so proud of the work that we do on that stuff. Those recordings, and we're not using expensive gear. Like
it's still a lot of the same gear.
Yeah. Which is great, and so many people think that it's got to be like this big expensive to do, and it's like it really doesn't. It really, really doesn't.
Yeah, and I think, to be honest, a lot of it comes down to the player.
1,000%. Yeah, I think we're also just blessed with very good players too.
Oh yeah. Tooting my own horn here. No. I think some people don't realize if you don't start out with a good product, you can, with all the post-production, Post Malone, in the world,
can't save it.
You can't save it. And we've learned that
from we have
past experiences of people's ignorance. And where if the
I'm sorry, I love how you grabbed your glasses and adjusted them. That was when you past ignorances. That was beautiful. Oh my God.
I try.
No, it was beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah. So we spend a lot of time when we record, like setting up our stuff. Making sure, drums, it's another animal, but make sure the drums and the guitar and bass and whatever sounds good from the start, because you're not going to fix it in post. So, we spend a lot of time tuning, dampening, setting things up, make sure that the mic placement is good, test it out a few times, do some playback, make sure it sounds good, and then hit record. There's a lot of prep work involved.
A ton.
And that just shows you like how much the equipment really doesn't matter. It's, we bought, like we said, really cheap stuff, used stuff. I think what saved us is the fact that we took the extra time to like set up the room, set up the drums, tune the drums, make sure everybody, sounded good before we hit record. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, if my memory serves me correctly, which it always does because I'm a perfect specimen of a human being, when you and I started getting together originally, we would do like 6 or 7 hours of work in the studio just setting stuff up, just miking stuff. They're putting mics on the drums in proper placements and EQing everything and EQing all the drums and tuning everything and just making sure, because that's a beast of an instrument, And
it's the worst instrument. I don't know why I chose it.
Like, I remember us having issues where it's like we were getting radio interference through one of the cables. Like, that was freaking. Of course, it's like this Spanish radio station coming in, and we're getting it through one of the cables, which was weird. We would have, every time something started, we would have a problem. And it would be like, what's that shit? What's going on today? Like, what's going to break? What's going to catch on fire? And that was such a big, part of it, of us working through those problems. So now we got to the point where just you turn it on and you go. I mean, we still have issues here and there, but I think just that we take the extra time to really make sure you have all the foundation stuff really steady. I mean, it's so important, And then on top of that is obviously having good players who are prepared and not coming in and, learning the part on the spot or anything like that, I mean, you and I have worked with people like that, and it's not great. And obviously, because that point, if they don't know their part, they're not playing as confidently, and that really impacts the recording, and you're not going to get any really good stuff out of it. But I mean, when we were doing the Interstellar Fortune Teller album, you and myself and our bassist, we were locked in when we came. We were knocking tracks out, and then we, put the horns on afterwards, just because the studio at the time we were in and everything like that. We couldn't really accommodate everybody all in one shot, but I'm happy that we did it broken down like that because we had more control over the mix. But I remember going home and listening to, those or anything that we do where it's like, this sounds good without any EQing or any mixing or any panning. It has to sound good. It's like the thing I always say with any of my buddies who are into film or into photography. It's got to look good in the camera, and that's like there was a photographer that we had worked with, and he thought you could just fix everything in post, that you could take dirty photos and grainy photos and dark photos and not adjust your camera or not understand or not essentially, play to your audience, being, your camera's not working with your atmosphere. And it's like, you should be able to make something look good on a disposable camera. I remember getting to the spots I wanted to shoot, and I was taking the photos on my phone, and they looked awesome. Like, I was very proud of how those shots looked. And you can't rely on a program to fix everything. It's got to look good in there. That's just for a fine tune. It's like a violin. You have the main tuners at the top and the fine tuners at the bridge. You're doing all of your tuning down at the headstock, and you're just tightening it up down at the bridge. Like, that's how it has to be. You can't rely on a program to fix all of your mistakes. And we've dealt with that with individuals in the studio, and it is the worst absolute thing. And it's so frustrating.
Oh, yeah. Especially you're the editing master, but it's a wasted time.
Oh my God, yeah.
Like you mentioned, people coming in not prepared, and you know what? You're in for a long haul. You're going to have a lot of editing to do, chopping it up, trying to blend it, splicing the tracks, and then you know what? At that point, it doesn't even sound real. It's not even the same part anymore. You just wasted all that time. Guys come in and
having to tune notes while you're editing it, or I do not like to tune things in post. I think that's cheating. It should be good just right there. It should be good, in the mix. I mean, obviously here and there, like everyone's guilty of having a perfect track and they just one missed note or one flub note. And it's like, well, okay, you can go and you can patch it in. That's fine. But, it should be the best you can possibly do with the recording. Now, granted, there's a lot of things people do. Like when I record on my own, if I'm doing like 2 guitar parts and a bass part and a percussion part and a keyboard part, I'm obviously not doing that all at the same time, so I have to go back in and do it every time. But still, it's good to know what you're doing so you play confidently and you get a good recording out of it. You just got to know your shit, because it's got to be right off the mic or right off the, right into the computer or right into the interface. It's got to be a solid take. And it's just going to make your work so much easier, because you and I have gone through hell and gone to hell and back with some of the stuff we've had to work on and fix from other people's doing.
Yeah,
and it is not fun. Absolutely not fun. Rebuilding, albums
everything
and things like that. Yeah, it's not. It's really not great. I do have to give, for those of you guys listening, I have to give Will huge props, because when we record, a lot of the studio series stuff, we're not all in the same room, and that's kind of one of the things that's interesting with when you see a lot of people record online. A lot of the live settings aren't necessarily live. They're coming in on different days. Like we have a lot of times our guys' schedules can't all match up, and they're coming in different days and things like that. To record. So Will is the first guy to record his part, which is super impressive, because he's either playing to just a click track with bass that I've already put down, or I'm playing bass with him as he's recording. Regardless, it's impressive, because it's just, he's literally the first guy to put his part down. So what we'll normally do is, because we were filming his part while we were recording it, so we'll put the camera up, we'll start filming, I'll play bass along with him. So it's literally just bass and drums. I'm not singing or anything. We have it charted out for what it's going to be. And then I'll go back in and I'll redo my bass part to make sure it's solid like that. But dude, you're ground zero on these things. And people don't realize how tough of a job that is, because it's not like you're playing with a full fleshed out track. You're just playing with bass. Or sometimes just a click in bass, or just a click. And it's like, for you to give it life and have feeling, that's like, holy shit, man. That's like, what is even going through your head when I say, hey, come to the Rat Cave and we're going to do this kind of song and this is how we're going to record it. Good luck, bud.
Yeah, usually I'll be like, you know what? I'm busy for the next year.
I was gonna say you've got to have either like a dartboard with my face on it or a voodoo doll or something at the moment. Like you have, you can't. Not,
well, I can't. I can't share that with you. It would ruin it. But you know what? I like the challenge, and you know what? I also like that. Doing it so early and just hearing just the bass part or whatever it is. And then when I listen back to it, a couple weeks later when you've added everybody, it is really cool to hear the how like the song evolves from kind of ground zero. And
yeah, because you're hearing the bare bones.
Yeah, and kind of see how my part fits in. And like sometimes like I'll hear the track a couple weeks after I've laid the drums down, and it like my mind is blown because it's not at all what I expected. Because I'm not hearing the horn charts you have played out, the guitar part, the vocal. I don't hear any of that. I get a bass, or you're humming me a part or something, and But it's a challenge, and I like it. And for me, how I approach it is, it's, I try to do the best that I can always, but more so at that moment in time, because I'm laying down the foundation for the rest of the song. So if my part's not solid, and if I'm not there to give, life to it, or if there's horn parts or other riffs that I got to set up, or hit with the band, I got to make sure that's there, because the guys after me all have to record, and if the drum part's not right, well, it's not going to come out right. So I like it, but it can be intimidating sometimes. But it's you're nice enough to give me a lot of artistic freedom, which is really
definitely. There's one thing to write the song, but I don't want to hear it like me. I want to hear it like you. So that's the most important.
Well, I don't want to hear it like me.
Whoa.
But
I don't want to hear it at all.
No, I hate hearing myself play, but it's it's all about just getting your feet wet. I didn't, this is not really something you can learn. Not something
it's just by doing it.
It's just by doing it. And recording is the same way. You kind of just you can take a class, sure. But, all the softwares are so different. There's so many different softwares. We use, Presonus mostly for all of our stuff. And I love their software. It's very user-friendly.
That sounds like a product plug there, William.
Yeah, it is,
Get yours today.
I guess their check is just, held up in the mail somewhere.
Lost. Yeah, mail's been tough,
lost.
man.
Yeah. But you know what? We didn't take a course on the program. We just learned by messing around in it. And, the beauty of YouTube, you can find anything on there.
Oh, my God. It's fabulous. Fabulous.
So we were always on YouTube trying to figure out stuff.
Yeah, and I mean, seeing tutorials and just learning by doing is so important. And now, kind of bouncing, to the idea of the software, like you were saying, or anything like that. How we do this podcast right now is you're recording your part only, and I'm recording my part only, and then we compile them together. So for Melanie, who's looking to record at home during a quarantine, that's essentially what she's going to be doing. She's going to get. You're going to be getting these individual parts where it's going to be like, oh, it's just a guitar, or oh, it's just percussion. You have to line them up and make them all work because, me and Will are going through Skype right now, and there's a delay. Like I'm teaching online lessons through Skype. I can't play along with any of my students because there's such a delay, and it's just such a pain for all of this kind of stuff. It really sucks. There's no way to get around it though, and I wish there was, but it just. It's so awful. Like I wish they had a music program like that, so it's actually no tape delay, so you could play along with each other. But we don't have that kind of a thing. We're not that blessed with this kind of crap. But so that's one thing important to keep in mind when you're doing this. You have to have solid performances and solid recordings because you're going to be putting them together, and you're probably not going to have another shot to do it. So it's like you really, really need to be able to. Make sure everyone's on their game and they know what they're doing, and just be able to line everything up. And that's like if we had the proper space to have all 5 horns in one shot and everything like that, it would be perfect. But for right now, we kind of have to piecemeal some things here and there. I mean, we could totally fit all 5 horns down here. That would not be a problem.
Right.
It would just be a ton of work because the problem is the more people you have in one shot, you have such a high margin of error for recording and bleeding and things like that. And or if someone accidentally flubs, being myself because I would make a mistake, then it's like, okay, now whose microphones picked this up or what happened? And like a lot of videos you see online of bands doing live stuff, usually there are things that are redubbed in. It's not entirely live. It's implausible for the sound quality and things like that. I don't know, Will, if you've seen stuff like that before, or the idea of just having the one big solid group. I mean, if you're having the big solid group like that, obviously everyone's schedules have to line up, and that's the one problem that we have. We have so many people knowing schedules line up, because I know our guys could most definitely do it. But just being able to accommodate your players in the studio, I think, is a very important thing too. Not just the tech side of it, but it's actually the accommodation side of it too.
Yeah, and we were just talking about these videos you see on YouTube all the time of people trying to record live all together in one setting. It's extremely popular, especially now because with quarantine, everybody. There's no gigging, so it's like, kind of got to do it from home. And that's totally cool. But yeah, we question sometimes whether it's all really done in one take with such a large group. And it's hard to say because, I mean, we're getting some really great recordings. Like they sound flawless. And I truly definitely wonder if some of it is overdubbed. And for those that don't know what overdub is, it's not doing it live. You're going back and, either doing a new track or redoing a track. But the crazy thing about this industry and the fact that it's still art is that I know multi-Grammy Award winning producers, recording engineers that actually record albums with guitars, drums, bass, all in the same room with the amps going, and you would never know the difference. So
that's very,
you're
very
welcome.
True. Yeah.
That makes this even more annoying, frustrating.
Yeah, seriously. Because I mean,
I don't know. What do you think about
that?
that?
Well, yeah, I mean, I've seen some videos of groups playing outside and having these flawless recordings, and they're playing it off as that they're live, and I'm like, you would hear they're on a street corner, you would hear cars going by, you would hear, wind. It's very imperfect outside. You can't control those kind of a thing, outside. It's like it's such a crazy. There's just so many variables and so many like margins, like such a large margin of error out there,
Yeah, and I don't.
I'm
think
always
you can't edit that background noise out, can you?
I mean, I'd imagine you could EQ it to a degree, but at the same time,
yeah,
or like a white noise or a pink noise removal kind of thing, or anything like that. But at the same time, it's like a hiss suppression. It's just inconsistent outside. So when there's a lot of groups passing off as live, I mean, there's a reason we're called the studio series. We're not the live studio series because we're not doing it live in a group. We're doing it a lot of times in pieces. Yeah. It's not everyone is playing together all the time just because of scheduling or what have you. So at least we're honest about it, and it's a studio recording. It's not a live recording kind of thing, which people are understanding of completely like that, But it's such an interesting kind of thing when you get into studio stuff because there are so many cool tricks that you can do. Just like the film industry, it's movie magic, where you can cover up mistakes, or if you have not the best technology or whatever, you can make it work regardless. Like, we didn't have great microphones that we worked with originally. We still have lower end microphones, but you put reverb on that bad boy, you change the room size on that thing, you EQ it to make it sound a little warmer. I mean, you put a slapback on it, make it sound old school. You've got a good sounding recording, and then once we even get into the mastering side of it, I mean, that's, you and I are like intense with that kind of stuff where it just gets to, the really nuts and bolts of it, because mixing, EQing, and panning for me are some of the most important things in a studio. I kind of hate that we got into recording because now when I listen to music, I don't necessarily listen for the musical value. I listen for the recording aspect.
Yep. Yeah.
Especially,
exactly.
it's a freaking curse because I'll be in the car and I'll be like, how is this panned right now? How many guitars are they using? Where's the solo coming in the mix? Oh, that's interesting. The drums are on that side. That's weird. Or, oh, the bass is up top and then it changes. And it's just like, it's just crazy shit. But it's the art. That is the absolute art, like the artisan part of it. And for me, panning is such a big thing, and that changes your mix. Because when I originally started doing recording stuff when I was younger, everything was centered. It wasn't panned, it wasn't stereo, everything was centered. And then you really open it up and you start figuring out where things are going to be in your mix, and it's like, oh, this changes everything. That goes from having a good recording to a great recording.
Yeah.
And that, I think, is such an important part that people overlook, so many times. I mean, you got, regardless of what your equipment is or how much it costs, you need to know how to use it. And then also you need to know how to use the actual program or the idea of recording, like the EQing, the mixing, the panning. It's so important. It's I mean, it's a monster with a million legs. I mean, that's really what it is. If that even makes any sense.
Oh, I'm with you.
Or a million heads. I don't know, a million legs or a million heads. I don't know. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Just say what I said better. They like that, Will.
Oh, perfect. And I mean, what's your thoughts on, when you get into the the EQs and all the added, effects. I've seen people put 1,000 things on a vocal track, but does it really need that?
No, with everything else in the arts, for the most part, I always like to have a less is more attitude. You have to. You really, really, truly have to have a less is more attitude. Again, you shouldn't have to put all that stuff on it if you already have a good recording straight out of the board or straight out of the mic. You shouldn't have to put all that nonsense on there. I mean, granted, there's the artistic, kind of license where it's like, oh, I want to make it sound like we're underwater. I want to do the auto tune or anything like that.
Yeah,
that's cool
something harsh and purposeful.
Yeah, like whichever. But it's like if you just want to have a good natural sound and just really somewhat take which you already have pre-recorded and just embellish it, or just kind of make it have a little more dimension. That's such a big part of it. So that's like what we'll do is when I'll do my vocals, I have my mic. I'm behind a vocal shield. And I'll EQ it, so I'll make it sound a little bit warmer because the microphones are usually very flat or very dry sounding. So, which is great because it's like with a camera where you have a very flat looking dull picture, so then you can color correct it better. It's the same kind of thing. You're just bringing out and embellishing more so what's already there. So you're not really so much adding to it. You're just defining it better, if that makes any sense at all, I guess. But that's like my favorite thing to do. It's, you EQ it a little bit, you put some reverb on it so it sounds very natural and it has now a warm kind of feel to it. And obviously I edit to the song that we're recording. So it's like, oh, I might want to put a little bit more oomph on the lower, bottom end on this one just because of the nature of the song or the feel. It's a little darker sounding or something like that. But I mean, you and I have both heard so many tracks of things where we've even said it's like, okay, this is just a little too much. They didn't have to do that. I mean, I know you
all
and I
the time. Yeah.
God, we'll be riding in each other's car and we'll see whatever CD because we still use CDs because we're old. And we'll start going through liner notes and looking at stuff and we'll start seeing whoever the engineers were for stuff and it's like, oh man, this is like a bit too much. But it's an art, so it's not right or wrong. It's just, you have to mix to the song. And that's, I think, the biggest thing. Yeah,
I that's really well said. And I know we have very, very similar taste, and we mix, pretty much very similar, the same.
Definitely.
It's it's very subtle. Keep it simple.
That was like when we originally started doing stuff. We were new to it, we were looking at every little detail and every little setting and everything that we had to do, and then we realized our recordings weren't as good as they originally were, and we were like, let's just strip that back and just start at square one.
Exactly.
And keep it simple. And I think it changed it for the better. And
because you can get
comfortable with it.
Yeah, you can get crazy with it. And if you go online and you type in, go on YouTube and look at some of these videos, I mean, it is so overwhelming. The amount of stuff that people do in mixing and editing, and with all the, don't even start on all the plugins, and all the MIDI packs, and it's like, I mean, it's personal preference, but it's,
of course,
I'm not trying to, for me, I want it, I'm trying to bring out, the best parts of the instrument. I'm trying to make it sound human. I want it to sound exactly like the drums I'm hearing and playing in this room are going to sound like, so we keep it very simple, and basically my point here is try not to get overwhelmed, because it is overwhelming, and I've been down that rabbit hole. Point. And you know what? You end up just going in this circle, and you don't get anywhere. And like Charles said, it's like we went backwards. We started really hating our mixes.
Not on purpose, though. Not on purpose,
And it was, we thought we were going to be better. We're putting more stuff on. Oh, look, I found this trick, and it's like, it doesn't sound good. Yeah. I still like the recording we did day one when we didn't know what we were doing.
We didn't think about it. Like, we weren't overthinking it, and it's to keep it simple, stupid, because it's like, you went from a great recording, and now it just sounds like a robot taking a dump, and it's like, great. I don't even know what that would sound like. What would a robot taking a dump sound like? This is implying that he has digestive tract and intestines.
It's probably would be a hard stool.
Like clanky, like nuts and bolts.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
Cool.
Yeah,
that's for another time. We're going to talk about that when we're off the air. But I mean, that's, I think what you said summarizes for Melanie everything that we really talked about. It's keep it simple, and that's going to give you the best results. That's whether we're talking about whatever hardware you use, your microphones, your things like that. There's simple options. They don't have to be $1 billion, $jillion.
Oh my God, playing alone.
The room that you're in can be simple. It doesn't have to be crazy. Even if you're doing like any attributes in the room, like soundproofing panels, they don't have to be big, heavy duty, expensive ones. You can put quilts on the walls. We've done that before. We made a makeshift vocal booth.
DIY.
Yeah, with a quilt, with a $4 Harbor Freight quilt, and we hanged it on a microphone boom stand.
Still
and
have them, still use them. They're great.
We've recorded horns into stuff like that. And I mean, does it look like a crack dungeon? Yeah, a little bit. But you know what they say? It's not a crack house, William. It's a crack home. And that matters more.
Ooh, that's touching.
Thank you so much. But really, and even your mixing and your panning, you can just keep it simple. I think, in the grand scheme of things with recording, it is an art. And you'll learn things and pick up things, and you'll have that tool belt, and you'll add more tools to it. But I think the problem I had in the beginning was I would just, when I saw someone else having more ideas about studio, I would throw out all of my pre-existing tools and take their tools onto my belt, which I should have just put a couple extra in there. I shouldn't have just kind of cleaned house and went from there. It's just that idea of keeping it simple is just so important, and I think you put that very, very well in every aspect of home recording. Is just keep it simple. You don't have to go to incredible extremes to get a good final product.
Amen.
That's what I would like to say.
Go
ahead,
beautiful.
Will. Top it. Do it. Watch what happens.
I'll be fired.
No. You always have good little final closing thoughts. I can't take your thunder. I just tried, but
In closing, love this topic because I love recording. It's my favorite, and I really enjoy it. And don't be afraid to get into it. We were thrown in the deep end. It worked out just fine.
We didn't have a choice.
Yeah, so get whatever equipment you can afford. Put it in whatever room you have available. Just make sure that you're prepared. Whoever you're recording's prepared, and make sure everything sounds good before you hit record, and keep it simple, like Charles said. I mean, don't let it. Like I said, it's overwhelming industry. There's a ton of information online, but don't let it deter you from getting started in recording. It's just a matter of just doing it. Messing around in the software, figuring it out, and most importantly, just trust your ears. Really train your ears. You know what you're hoping it's going to sound like, and just trust your ears, and don't worry about throwing that plug in or trying to EQ, and just if it sounds good to you, leave it. Don't touch it. Don't you touch that button.
Don't you get your hand away, you bastard.
Yeah, don't be afraid. Get started. Now's the time. You're home. You're quarantined. Do it.
Yeah, you have better things to be afraid of, like spiders and ghosts, and dying alone.
What, us?
No, God, no. But anyway, I think that was perfect, Will. So, Melanie, hopefully we answered your question or provided some insight on kind of what to do, with a hilarious story about Wawa being the best convenience store and their a little bit spicy mac and cheese. It did. It burned. It
still burns.
The nostrils.
Still airing out that garage.
Still PTSD. But we would love to thank you guys again for joining us and beating off with us and listening to us beat off this week on the Drop the Beat podcast. Again, if you would like to submit a question for us to answer in a long format style, go to www.charleslaurita.com/podcast. And I mean, we were just loving these questions you guys are sending in. I think this is a blast. This was our 10th episode. I think I'm looking forward to our 20th episode. This is going to be good. We're doing it, man.
William, we're doing it. It's flying. It's flying by.
God damn it. So once again, this has been the Drop the Beat podcast. My name is Charles Laurita.
And my name is Will Sarver. I love this suspense. I had to follow you.
Dude, I'm going to be real. I didn't know what you were going to say at the end of that. I was like, oh no, what have I done? Oh my God. Thank you guys so much. Yeah, we're done. We quit. I'm out of here. So thank you guys so much. We will see you guys next time.
Ciao.
See ya.